might have a balcony, or perhaps have a sunny window, or don't have a sunny window and they can grow shade plants. But I've actually raised an awful lot of very rare plant seed in a greenhouse garden window in my kitchen.
May I interrupt you? I'm a neighbor, and I heard about your class, so I brought over some Romano beans that I've been growing for the last 30 years in my West Berkeley backyard. They are a good green Romano, and they also, if you let them dry, they make a lovely chili bean. They were imported by Dorothy Bryant, the novelist's grandfather from Italy, Lombardy. They're the family heirloom Romano bean. Please soak them overnight before planting.
See?
Enjoy.
Are they pole variety? Are they pole variety or bush?
Yes, they grow up.
Good.
You know, they go up and up and up and up and up, and they're absolutely delicious.
See? Really, if just each and every one of us just had one story like that to tell on a seed, you know, collectively we'd have it made. As I said, I raise seeds for cacti and South African succulents in a greenhouse garden window in my kitchen. They'll never change the world as far as our food or something is concerned, but some of the seeds I get out of that kitchen window are pretty rare, very, very hard to find. So you don't have to have an acre or 2 acres to be able to do this. Some of us will probably want to go off hunting for seeds beyond the landscape that we live in. That's a pretty good thing to do too. Some of us, like myself, we're the extreme hang gliding hunter, parachuting seed hunters that will go into places where the insects will eat you alive, and you may never come out if you fall into the puka, you know. And then I'll bore you endlessly with the stories about where the seed came from on that plant over there in my backyard. It's a sort of a thing, but you know, really, I think whatever your reasons for gathering seed, it brings a balance into our lives. Seeds ensure a green and bountiful future by preserving nature's genetic codes and human social activities from the past. Seeds guarantee our passage into the future with ancient ruts. The seed essentially is the future. Without it, there isn't one. Past that, I have a little bit of information here then about processing some seeds. It's in text. I also have pretty much same information in a video. How are we doing here for time? Okay, I think I can take this on basic information then. How many people here have gathered and processed their own seed in the past? Half and half, huh? And got the rest of you, are you thinking about it? Cool. All right, then this is worthwhile. For the purpose of seed harvesting, I think we can divide the plants into 2 different groups. There are seeds that are found in the wet state and those that are found in the dry. And there really is not too much of anything in between. The grasses, flowers, and herbs are usually taken in the dry, ripe state. At harvest, the fixtures that the seeds are contained in, they should be dry enough usually to come close to crushing them between the hands, although you should catch them before they have begun to shed seeds. So some plants, say like California poppy, the pods snap open, and that's common in a lot of plants. Certain legumes do that. You want to catch them in the slightly green state just before that point. Put them inside a bag and then let them blow in the bag. But pretty much they're taken as they're quite close to dry. Don't go pushing the envelope on it, because chances are every time I've taken the stuff down green because I had no other choice, it usually never germinates. And so it has to be quite ripe. Almost all fruit and many of our garden vegetables are harvested in the wet state. That's a little trickier than the dry ones. Most of them are taken at the ripe, edible condition. So a tomato, when it's ready to eat, it's ready for seed. A chili, if it's turned to red or it's full ripe color, it's ready. The seeds are good. You could eat the chili. In the case of the tomato, you can core the seeds out of the tomato. You can use the rest of it to make salsa. So in a lot of these cases, the produce the seeds came from can be eaten also, so the seeds become a byproduct. There are a few of the plants that we take in the wet state, like zucchini or cucumber. There are two good examples. Here we eat those in the immature condition, and so you have to allow zucchini or cucumber to go to the full ripe, where they're getting orange on the zucchini or yellow on the cucumber, and like way past where you'd want to eat it before you're going to get ripe seed out of it. You really want to try to get the seed out of as many plants as possible. So if you have a row with 6 jalapenos, I would take at least 1 pepper off of each of the 6 plants to try to get a spread gene pool. So a lot of argument here as far as, you know, whether the home garden has enough genetic material so that you don't get inbred lines, you know. I don't worry about it. I've been saving seeds for years. So far, none of my garden seeds have turned into, you know, mongoloids or anything. They're all pretty much looking like the tomatoes that I started with. You do your best. That's all there is to it. And every now and then, if you know somebody else saving the same kind of seed, you might want to swap out with them because their pool's probably a little different, and toss the two together is my best suggestion on that. You're probably going to look for the plants that exhibit the best qualities. And that's an issue too, is trying to select for something that's performing better in your environment. Plants like onions, plants like carrots, there's a couple beets, there's a variety, a lot of the root vegetables especially. You're not going to be able to harvest the produce and get the seed too. You have to leave some of these plants in the ground to go to full mature, and in many cases, like carrots and onions, biennials, it's going to take a second growing season before you get the seed out of it usually. And so there you will have to sacrifice some of your food if you intend to grow carrot seed. You won't be able to harvest those. Be careful for cross-pollination. If you're growing plants of the same varieties in your garden, they will probably get tangled up. Whether it's the wind that moves the pollen across the rows, or an insect, a bee will do a good job of messing your tomatoes all up. So that what you thought were brandy wines got crossed with Romas, and now you got real juicy, sweet, big fat Italians out there. You can lose things that way. Sometimes it's cool. Occasionally I've come up with something new. But if you're going to plan to save squash seed, you're going to plan to save cucumber seed, corn especially, my God, corn is so promiscuous. You can't stop it. Yeah, it's impossible. And so you stick with a single variety and you watch out for the neighbor with corn. Otherwise your seed will get all cross-pollinated. Store seeds in dry locations. I've seen people store things in the freezer and so on. I really don't advocate it. Often there's a condensation problem. I keep all of my stuff usually wrapped up in paper. Paper has a certain amount of ventilation to it. I don't like plastic. It doesn't ventilate properly. Old envelopes. Good way to recycle the stuff that comes with your junk mail. Those envelopes. Keep them organized. A shoebox works real good for the average seed collection with envelopes in it. Label your envelopes. Label your seeds as you're working with them. I have a Sharpie right there in the garage where I'll take my lettuce seed, throw it into paper bags, and if I'm good, I write on the side of it the name of the lettuce and the date. And then I set it out there to dry. Make sure you keep your labeling up. Otherwise, you end up like Basil's got a whole batch of mixed Bay Area lettuces because Bill forgot what he put in the bags.